Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Gandorf, and there's not going to be a video of me in this one. Lighting issues this morning. Still trying to get that worked out. But welcome to the channel if you're new. Welcome back if you're a recurring viewer. And today, yes, as you can see on screen, we're not doing an easy box. We're doing a hard one, but don't let that scare you off. It's called Event Horizon. It's actually a really good box. And if you are still wanting to know if this field of hacking, CTF, bug bounty stuff is really for you, doing a few hard boxes is really going to let you know if you've got what it takes, because you're going to have to be curious. You're going to have to want to search to find answers, and you're going to have to be okay with failure. And that's what's really good about some of the medium boxes and a lot of these hard boxes, that you're going to run into the walls. I did on this one, and I honestly didn't know if I was going to be able to complete it or not. So with that being said, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Really do appreciate it. With that, let's get into the challenge. So here, if you scroll down to task 1, you see we have a download task file, and that will give us a zip file here, and when you extract it, you get these two files, a PowerShell.dmp, which is basically a dump file from PowerShell, and then a traffic pcap.ng file. This made me super happy when I saw it because I love digging through pcap files. When you open that pcap file in Wireshark, this is what you're going to see. A lot of jarble that doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's go take a look at our question and see if we can get some direction on what to do. First question. The attacker was able to find the correct pair of creds for the email service. What are they? Well, what protocols are used in email services? That's SMTP, Simple Network Transfer Protocol, and then POP and IMAP. SMTP is used for sending mail. POP and IMAP are used for reading your email from the server. So there is one interesting thing about this pcap file that it can show you. If you type POP up in here, hit enter, you're going to see where multiple user logins were done. That's what this user is. That's sending the username. And then the server sending back, okay, send me your password. And then it sends password. And as you scroll down, you will start seeing this invalid username or password in response to all of that. You can dig through these, and I would suggest doing that by right-clicking, follow in TCP stream, and go through page by page trying to find the correct login. But there's a much simpler way to do it. Clear this out, type in SMTP, hit enter. There we go. Much easier. We can see the actual process of where somebody logged in. There's the user, there's the password, and they sent an email from this account to this account, and there's the entire body, and then they logged out. Normally, your mail from here, that's going to be the username that was logged into. But just to double check, let me show you how to find out for sure. So we want to click on the packet, and then down here on the left, you want to make sure you have the last tab, the SMTP tab open, and right click on the username here, go to copy and value. Then we're going to come over here to our friend CyberChef, and yes, I've already got from base64 in here. This is going to be used a lot throughout this challenge. We'll just paste that in, and there you go. There's that email that we saw. Now what about the password? Well, back over here, click on the password packet, same thing, click on this line, right click, copy, value, clear the input, paste our new one, and there's our password. So the next one, what was the body of the email that was sent to the attacker? Well, that's all going to be in this packet right here. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in this one, somewhat unreadable, kind of hard to parse through. You could go down over here to get some information, but the easiest way to do this one is just going to be right click, follow TCP stream, and then this window here, we can see where the login occurred. There's our username getting passed, there's the password getting passed, and then we can see he's setting up the email. If we scroll down a bit, we can see it says this is a multi-part message. So we're going to have a body and then something else. And then sure enough here, underneath the first MIME delimiter, we have the actual body in plain text. That's going to be blurred out. That's the answer to the second question. Third one, what command initiated the malicious script download? Well, if we keep scrolling, we see why this is a multi-part message is there is an attachment, and it's a .ps1 file or a PowerShell script. And when you scroll down, you see we've got two blocks here of base64 code. So let's just go ahead and copy this, bring it over to Wireshark, drop it in, clean up this little section right here, and then down to the output, we can see the actual code. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's going to be the line. That's your answer for number 3. So number 4, what is the AES key that is used for decrypting the C2 traffic? Well, if you look back at that line, that PowerShell script's downloading another script. So most likely that means the AES key is going to be inside that other script, which is most likely going to be an executable. So how do we get that other script? Well, the one thing about having a PCAP file is you can actually extract files if you know what you're looking for. So to help us find that, what we're going to do is take the name of that second script and we're going to search for it in these packets. Okay, and how we're going to do that is we're going to use that name of that second script to see if we can find the packets where it downloaded the information, and that we're going to use this find feature. You can get to that by edit, click find packet, and then you'll get this window here opened up. So we're just going to take and paste in the name of that file. Of course, I'm going to have it blurred out. Click on find, and there we go. We get a GET request, HTTP GET request, and we look through here. We see we got an OK. So it did connect and it did download. So if we right click this one with the file name, click follow and follow HTTP stream, we see we get this. Now remember, red is from the machine, blue is from the server. So we have this big blue blob here. And we take a look, keep scrolling, you'll eventually see this down here, which indicates base 64 again. What we're going to do is going to drag and copy, and where you want to stop is right about here where that open parentheses is. Make sure to not include the quotes. Let's Control C copy, come back over here, paste it in, and it looks like gobbledygook. So here's a little trick. When you know that you're trying to base 64 decode shell scripts, exes, things like that, you'll come over here and do raw. You want to select raw inflate. That tends to help, and sure enough, we can see MZ magic bits. So that off the top is going to tell me that this is definitely going to be a Windows program. Sure enough, this program cannot run in DOS mode. So those are your two dead giveaways that you're pretty much dealing with a executable here. And then there's some things down here if you scroll through, but not too much that we can do at this point with it. And we sure cannot find that AES key. So what to do next? Well, if you do this save output to file, click on it, and I'm just going to call it program.exe, click OK, and that will download. Cut that, drop it over here into our working directory, and if we come into our terminal, and type file program.exe, sure enough you can see this is PS32 executable for Microsoft Windows. So how are we going to look into this to actually see the AES key? Well, for that, I will advise here that I kind of had some knowledge about how to do this because I attended a session that my work offered with a team that does pen testing and reverse engineering, and they taught us about a couple of tools to use, and one of them was actually inside VS Code. Now you can install and run this on Linux. I will leave a link to this page down in the description, and basically what I would suggest to do is come down here, download this package here, and instead of following this command, whenever I get deb packages for Linux, so this is what I like to do with Linux when I get deb packages, is use sudo dpkg-i for install, and then the name of the deb file, and use the star here because I want to type all of it out. If you do that, once you download that deb file in your downloads directory and hit enter, you'll put in your password, and then it'll get VS Code installed for you. So how is VS Code going to help us? Well, first you want to come to this icon, the extensions, and you'll want to install this one, ilspy-vcode. And basically, as you can see here, this is a decompiler. Now how are we going to use this? You want to hit Control-Shift-P to tell VS Code you want to run a command, and as you can see I've already got them here at the top, but you can just start typing IL and eventually you will get to these here. We want to pick assembly from file. Click on that and we'll navigate to where our .exe is. There we go. Select assemblies, and then typically this no folder will be open. I'll just close it so I can better see this. Now there's a lot of stuff. Now anything outside this first one, the app, you don't really have to worry about it too much. And then from here, basically you just want to go through, start with references. Okay, those are normal. It's nothing we're going to be needing. Look here, there's a module, but it doesn't load anything. Then come down here to Grunt Stager. Now this is where the core of the program is going to be. Basically what you're going to need to do is go through each of these little boxes on my screen. They're purple boxes, and these are where all your code bits are going to be, and there is a lot of stuff in here, so let's take some time to look through this one. So you can see we've got, looks like it's connected to an IP. We want to look for keyword, there it is, the word key from base 64 string. So when you see that, and from base 64 string, that's often going to be whatever type of key you're searching for. Sometimes it'll just say key, sometimes it'll say AES. In fact, if you look down, there's AES right there, and it actually looks like it's going to make a AES generated key from this input. So we'll just copy that, and I'm going to put this in a file to save it. So I've just stored it in this key file. The reason why I'm doing that is because we will have to come back and get it several times. So feel free to look around here if you're curious, poke around, but we're pretty much done with this at this point. Now, if you are getting more comfortable in terminal and you like using it, there's one thing we can do with that key to make it a lot more accessible, and that is to use the export command. I'm just going to set it to key and then equals, and then in quotes put in that key. So then to access it, all we need to do is the $key, and if we use it with echo, you can see we get our key back. What is the administrator's NTLM hash that the attacker found. This is where I thought I was going to hit a roadblock for sure. So what do we need to do? Basically, we need to do research on the file that we downloaded. And the best way to go about that first off is going to be getting its MD5 sum. We can simply do that in our terminal by just typing MD5 sum and the name of the executable, and we get it here. Now, anytime you're doing these boxes and you come to a point where you're going to grab an MD5 hash of a file, a program, or something like that, make it a habit to throw it in a website called VirusTotal. Just come up here, paste that in, and hit enter, because there's a good chance there's something on here, and bingo, we've hit it. So how do you make heads or tails of this to figure out what it is you're dealing with? Well, if you look down here, usually you can take a look through and get an idea. You see here we got a name Covenant that's repeated twice, malware XGen, there's Covenant again. So not too helpful. We do have one particular word that gets repeated a few times. Typically what I like to do is just jump straight to the community and take a look at the comments. Sure enough, Covenant Launcher Brute, Covenant Stager, so it looks like we're dealing with a Covenant tool here. Okay, so on here, take a look at the comments. As we can see, sure enough, in this rule, we see Covenant and Covenant, so that's most likely the name of the tool that we're going to be having to work with somehow. And what I like to do is if you hit the show more, sometimes they give a little bit more information, and particularly this one actually states that there is a GitHub for the tool. It's a publicly accessible tool. So if we copy this, we find that we are here and we scroll down and read about this. This is a C2 or a command and control framework. Cool. So that means it gets onto a machine, gathers information, sends it back. This is most likely going to be encrypted, so we need a decryptor. And if you do a search for Covenant decryptor, you're going to eventually land on this GitHub. Now, what you'll need to do here is you can either just download the zip or just use the git clone. So I'll just copy this keyboard, come to terminal, and then just type in git clone, paste in the address you copied, hit enter, and there we go. We take a look, we now have a new folder called Covenant Decryptor, and if we list that out, you see we've got a couple of Python files, a readme, and a requirements.txt. Any of these projects, when you look into them and you see this requirements.txt, you want to run that or have pip install anything that you need. Now, how do you do that? So first thing, you want to change into the folder where your requirements file is at. And then you want to use pip3 install -r and then the name of the file, in this case requirements.txt, and hit enter. And if you're on a newer Linux, a newer kernel, you'll see something like this. Don't freak out about it. All you need to do is copy this last bit here and put it on the end of your previous command and hit enter again. And then pip3 will go through and do it. I've already have all these installed, so I'm good to go. All right, so I went back up a directory. So how do we go about the decrypting process? Well, if we look at the README here, there are 3 stages to it. Stage 0, the infected agent initializes RSA, but this is basically telling you what goes on how it encrypts. The C2 transfers a session key encrypted with the RSA public key for sequential communication. So this really doesn't help, and I'm going to be honest, I looked around a guide on using this tool and I really couldn't find anything that was decent. So this is where the grinding on this box really kicked in. So if you remember, we had a couple of Python files in that folder. So let's try running the decrypt one and see what we get. So I'm just going to run it like this, shorthand it. Okay, it says we're missing command. So we'll do the -help. So as you can see, we have a couple options here. Then we've got 3 commands: decrypt, key, and modules. Now if we take a look, decrypt talks about stage 1. We're not there yet, so we can't use that. Key says recovery AES key of stage 1 using the RSA private key and AES key from stage 0. Can't use that yet because we're still in stage 0 and we don't have the information needed to move on. But modulus, extract the modules and the exponent of the public key used and the exponent from Covenant stage 0 communication. So this is something we can use in stage 0. So let's take a look at what its options are. So we'll simply do that by going to our previous command, just adding modules and doing -help. As you can see, there are 2 required things: an input file and a key, and then we have a couple of optional ones here, type key, and it says the default string, but we know ours is base 64, so we'll need to include that. We're not going to use this skip. Okay, so with all that reading out of the way, don't worry if you're absolutely confused by anything that I just said about reading any of that. That's going to happen. This is where just trial and error and being okay with failing at times kicks in. But basically, we want to structure our command per the help menu. Python 3, path to our Python file modulus-i for input, and there's our PowerShell.dmp -k, and you see the $k, so we can feed out our key. And then we want to tell it that the type of the key is base64. If we hit enter, you see we get quite a bit of mess dumped out here. It's not able to decode a portion of it. So honestly, this is where the wall hit for me, and I was completely at a loss and had no idea what I needed to do. And again, digging around didn't provide any help. I couldn't really find too much guidance out there on what to do. So I did what you would do. I went to a walkthrough to see if I could find the specific part to help, and I wanted to include this and be honest about it because I want to show you how to use a walkthrough, like I said before, to do it properly to help you to learn to get past your block, but not to rely on them. There's a complete difference to that. So this is the walkthrough that I ended up looking at. There's a link to it on the Event Horizon page. And basically, all I did was Control F and look for Covenant Decryptor, and sure enough, here it is, a section talking about it. So you can see here, he looked at the README, went through it. He says, but before we can proceed with the extraction of the modules, we need to put the traffic all together into a single text file. There's the part I was missing. So he talks about how to go back to Wireshark and be able to do this. And note here, he says, now we need to remove all other data and leave just anything base64 encoded lines from this. So you can see here we have an example. You can see the hello world stuff, and you want to take all that out and just leave the stuff that has base64. Alright, let's try that out. Now, he said HTTP traffic, so we want to clear this. And we want to do HTTP, and we can cancel this find here. So again, we want to right click, follow HTTP stream. You want to look until you find that section with the hello world, and sure enough, there we go. As you can see, there's some base64 code like what he showed. So we want to save this stream, 1490, as a text file. So we'll click Save As. Make sure we are in our Horizon directory. We're just going to call it http.txt. Hit enter. We can close that. Come over here to where we have it saved. Open it up. And I would recommend making this full screen to make it a little bit easier. So basically, we want any single line, as you see 40 here is a single line that has the base64 on it. We want keep those, but delete everything else. Okay, so once you have all that done, and I did end up transferring it to my host machine because it just made editing a lot easier and a lot quicker, and brought it back. If you do nano in the text file, it takes a second to load, but you should see something like this, where you have a few lines that start with the I equals, then you have several that start with this EY. That's what we want. So now we go back to our modulus command here, and we just change the input file to that http.txt, and we hit enter, and you see we have a modulus here. So that's a little bit of a long string, so to be able to access it for our next few commands, I'm going to set it up as an export, but as you can see here, there are new lines to that output, so let's clear that up. There we go. That looks a lot better. Now we hit enter, and just to check to make sure it's saved correctly. Good, there we go. So what do we do next? We come back, we look at stage 1, read through it again. That doesn't help me much, and I'm sure it's not going to help you. So let's go back and take a look at the walkthrough. So you can see here, shows where we got the module key, and now we're going to use the extract, and then we want it to point it to the dump file. In this case, it's our PowerShell.dmp, and then enter the modulus here, which we've got saved, and then this output where we can store the keys. Okay, so here's the command I'm going to run, Python 3, and just shorthanded that to the shell script. Shorthand that to the Python script, -I, give it our PowerShell.dump, -m, $mode, so it can feed in the modules we got, and output, I'm just putting the dot, say put the files in this folder. Alright, and when we run it, this is the output you should see. You can see we've got the private key here. Now, what do we do with this? Okay, so we're going to run that Python script again with the -help to take a look back at our options in case you don't remember them. So we've done modulus, so going up the tree, the next one is key. So let's take a look at the options for it. Okay, and here's the output. You see it wants an input file, path the file containing the data package transmitting the AES key of the Covenant communication. So that's going to be our http.txt file. Our key, the AES key, we have that saved in environmental variable by using $AES. And -r, the RSA key, that's used to decrypt the new AES key. So that is going to be what we have stored in the $mod environmental variable. And then of course the -t to tell it that the type is base64. So let's put this all together and get our code running. Okay, so here we are, and I did misspeak on the -r. That is not the mod value that we got. That is the private key pin we got when we ran the last command. So I apologize for that. So our full command is the Python script key -i, our text file -k, $k, or your AES key -r, that PIM key that we extracted, and then telling it type base64. Alrighty, I'm back, and to show you the errors I got and how I walk through it, this is the command that I just showed you. When I ran it, I got this back. So I thought, okay, let me just change this to -t, because sometimes weird things like that happen. Got the same error. Okay, let me move over here next to the key, because it may think that this base64 is saying that when it's actually meaning this. Still got it. Then I remembered there was another option, -s. So I tried -s0, which basically be the same as the command before it. Sure enough, I got nothing. Switched it to 1, and now we have a new key. Sweet. So let's take this, copy it, and let's set it as a in AES key for the new AES key, and hit enter. Okay, and of course make sure it's saved correctly. Let's echo it out. Cool. We're finally good to go on that point. Alright, so let's go and look at that third option for the decrypt file. Okay, so we go back to the help menu. You see that we have this last command, the decrypt function. So let's go take a look and see what our options are for that. Okay, you can see we have input, of course, .i.k. This AEK used to decrypt covenant traffic post stage 0 can be string, hexadecimal, or base64. So this is actually going to be our new AES key that we're going to use. And we'll make sure to set type. Now the key that we got is a hex, so since this defaults a string, we're going to have to use this option and set it to hex. And probably best just to go ahead and use this S option since we had to do it last time, because we'll probably end up needing it again. So all together, our command is going to look like this. So if we hit enter, we had a lot of vomit come out, and sure enough, we've got another base64 string. I told you I was going to be throughout this challenge. So if you scroll all the way back up to the top, you can see there was a bit of a padding issue. So if we set this to 1 or 2, probably we got past that. So it's wanting the administrator NTLM hash. So if we take a look through this, let's see if we can find it. Now again, if you need to copy paste this and hit enter to help clean this up a bit, that's completely understandable. But if we take a look through here, we see we have an authority system here, and if we look a little bit past it, see local SID, and then user administrator hash NTLM. There it is. We finally found it. That was a lot of steps to get to it. So we got that. So last one is, what is the flag? Well, if you notice, we got a response message down here, status 2. Yes, our flag is buried in this base64. What do we do with it? Let's copy it and take it over to CyberChef. Okay, I ran into a snag, so I'm back, figured out what was going on. So again, like I said, you're going to run that command, save it to a file called output.txt, and then you want to run that. You want to open it and get rid of all the HTML stuff to where it's just that long base64 string in there. So anything before the I at the beginning, that parentheses all the way back to the beginning, delete it. At the very end, you want to take everything from the parentheses off there. Then, just to be on the safe side, do a cat output.txt, pipe that using the tr command. You want to tell it to delete all new lines and then save that out to a new file called flag.txt. Then you can open it, hit Control A to select everything, Control C to copy, come paste that in here to your input. And here's what kept tripping me up. I don't know why this is, but delete the 2 equal signs at the very end, and then you'll see that we have a PNG file right here. Now, the one nice thing about CyberChef is it actually has a built-in render image option, and then we can save output to file. Make sure to set it as a PNG, and then all you have to do is open it, and there's your flag. Now remember, there are underscores in it, so that can throw people off when putting the flag name in. And that is finally the end of Event Horizon. So you can see that hard boxes are labeled hard for a reason. It is going to take a bit of effort and a bit of walking and practice and failure to get through them. Just have patience. You're going to get frustrated, but if you're getting too frustrated, walk away, take a break, and then come back to it. And again, do not be afraid to use write-ups to help you. But like I showed here, look at the part you're stuck on, look what they're doing. And in this case, it was understanding how to use the decrypt tool, how to look at those two Python scripts, and how to pull up the options and read the help menus to figure out what you need to put in. But after the first couple, it starts to become evident, usually on what you need to put in for each of those options. Try to do it on your own first. If you get stuck with it, can't figure it out, then go back to the walkthrough. So again, if you found this helpful, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Much appreciated, and I'll see you next time. I hope you have a good week.